Welcome to Your Number Man, where we share financial strategies, business insights, and inspiring stories to help you navigate a successful business. I am your host, Johan Zanik, and my goal is to help you achieve a bigger life in business. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Your Number Man, and today we got a very special guest in our studio. Her name is Tash Mooney. She's an ace winemaker, owns a vineyard in the Adelaide Hills and Barossa Valley, and she runs a business consultancy and a wine-making brand called Wine Architect. And if you're ever lucky enough to taste some of her wine, you'll understand why it's called the Wine Architect. The wines are the perfect composition of a compelling base, impeccable structure, and are rounded with tones and flawless design and character. So Tash's main brands are La Bise from the Adelaide Hills and the Thief from the Barossa Valley here in the magnificent state of South Australia. She also recently launched a new brand simply called Tash. So Tash recently celebrated the 18th year in business, and I don't know if there's a real word for it, but I believe she's a real vintrepreneur. Tash, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Johan.
Well, let's start off by telling us a little bit about your brands. La Bise, is that French?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that was a German accent. But
Was it German?
yeah, La Bise is Adelaide Hills based, so all the wines are from the Adelaide Hills. And I started that probably about 2011, I think. But the idea of La Bise is, it's a French word for to kiss. So it's the idea of a greeting when French people greet each other.
Yes.
They do the double kiss. And a French boyfriend once said to me that it's an honour to be given someone else's cheek to kiss. That's the way we look at things from a French cultural point of view. Yeah. And I thought that was a beautiful thing, and it sort of celebrates a moment in time, and that's what the wine's all about, is just celebrating a moment in time, not thinking too much of the wine, not having it too serious, just having a good greeting and a good moment.
Yeah. And then the Thief.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a legend there.
There's a story there about my family, and I've grown up with Irish family, and there's quite a strong thread there of a little bit of debauchery, a little bit of religion. There's a bit of a mixture of Catholics and atheists in our family, and this story that's behind the Thief really explains that. So I won't go right through that because it's a bit long-winded, but it's on the website.
Oh, all right. Definitely going to put your website and information on our show notes. Well, Tash, you've actually been in the wine industry since 1992, and you started a big company, I think, at Penfolds, and then 1996 you went over to Barossa Valley Estate, and I think you also, one of your accolades, that you've won an award for the first female to be nominated in the top 10 worldwide wines. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We had some good success there during the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's at BVE. Only the second Australian as well.
Second Australian. So Penfolds had won the award before. It's a magazine called Wine Spectator.
Yeah.
And they do a top 10 wines. Right. They judge all of the wines around the world during the year. And then they pick the top 10 wines for that year. And Penfolds had won the award before, been in the top 10. And then we were lucky enough to win that with a 1996 Shiraz. So, we won that. But because in America the winemaker sort of sits at the top of the chain, I was lucky enough to go over there and collect the award. But I was sitting next to Baroness Rothschild on one side from France, and then this Italian guy who was very highly rated. So it was surreal because I'd only been in the wine industry for 4 years. And to get this accolade for the company and for myself and for Australia, it was brilliant.
And obviously you've built up a lot of confidence to be able to start out on your own in 2006. How daunting was that when you decided, okay, now I'm going to start my own business?
Yeah, it was very daunting from a financial point of view because I had 2 young kids at the time, and I was going from a wage of 70 grand down to about 20 because I had one client that I knew would take me on. So that was daunting, but my husband was very positive about it and said that we should go for it. So I dropped down and out. So from a financial point of view, it was really daunting, and finance is pretty important to me. But from a point in time, I knew that I was ready. I had a lot of curiosity with things that I wanted to do from a business point of view. So I knew that was the right time to make the move. So yeah, I wasn't that scared.
And the business was wine consulting.
Yeah, that was at the start. It was just wine consulting. So I found there was a big need for that when I was working for other companies. It was a good wage and I enjoyed those positions, but something was missing. And I think it was a curiosity of building my own business when I look back at that now, which I couldn't get from working from someone else. So I thought I would like to be in charge of that ship for a while. And like I said, I had this one client, the Lane Vineyards in the Adelaide Hills. And so I went for that, and then it just grew from there.
All right, Tash, just explain quickly, what does a wine consultant do?
Sure. A wine consultant is someone that really works with the grapes from the vineyard and takes them all the way up to bottling. So someone will have their own vineyard, and I will take control at that point, telling when to pick. And then we work stylistically together on the style of wine that the client wants to make. And then I take the wine and make the best wine we can up to bottling.
Great. You're very involved in the process.
Yes, yep. Very involved making the wine, but also making sure the style of the wine is matching the client's expectations and the market's expectations.
Yeah, that's great. And I also read somewhere Fox Green Wines or
Fox Gordon, yeah.
Fox Gordon,
Yeah, so we started a company along the way just before that, which was Fox Gordon Wines with two other friends, and they're still going today. I sold out of that before I started my own brands, but yeah, they're still going today. Yeah.
So bringing it back to a financial point of view, and obviously marketing as well, branding is a big thing in the wine industry. I mean, it takes years or decades to actually build up a brand, but that brand is quite valuable. So it's quite important to be on top of your numbers and what you're investing in that brand as well. We talked about Fox Gordon and Labis and the Thief. I mean, you can't see it, you can't touch it, but it's there. It's got a lot of value. What is your take on how do you protect your brand? How do you keep on building your brand?
Yeah, that's difficult. No, it's not difficult, I should say. I think I'm my own brand in a consulting sense, but that flows through to my brand, to my actual wine brand. So I'm a winemaker, and as a consultant, I'm very important to that because I'm the person that's doing the consulting and has that reputation. And as my grandpa said to me, it takes all your life to build a reputation, but you can lose it in one day. So I think that that's been really important to me. And that goes through to the wines as well. You can make as much great wine as you want, but one bad wine will just stuff up all the other hard work that you've done. So I think that all feeds into the brands of the wines, and I think my wines all have very different personalities, but I've seen and made a lot of mistakes along the way with branding, and I'm still trying to put that together because I do find that as a scientist with a scientific mind, I do find that quite tricky.
Yeah.
Hence why I've started Tash, because I think that's a very different brand and I think that's going to do well.
And when you drink it, it sort of like embodied your personality. And during this time, from 2006, starting your own business, you got to know something about finance. Or if you don't know about finance, make sure that you understand a little bit about it because it is the language of business and it gives clarity. And we all know that clarity gives you power. So in your view, how important did you believe it was for you to stay on top of your numbers, doing your margins, doing your profit and loss, your budgets, checking your ratios?
It wasn't something that I struggled with because I think consultancy is where I started, and that's really just a service-driven industry, which I find quite easy to understand because you just have a service, your input costs and costs of that service are quite easy and transparent to understand. Yeah. So you know your costs because they're quite easy to put together. And then you just look at a number that you want to charge for your consulting per hour or per day or per week, and that really just transcribes back to those numbers a lot easier. I think what I found difficult is when I'm starting to produce a product and I understand my cost of goods very well, but trying to work out your cost of goods and then your cost of sales and all of those different numbers and making sure that there's a profit in there, I find that a lot more difficult and a lot more intense.
Yeah, it is. And it's over a specific period as well. I mean, you spend all the money today, but the product's only going to go in the market in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it's the wine industry is shocking for that,
Yeah.
and that's why it took me so long to start putting wine into the market, because I needed a lot of cash behind me. My theory at the start was always to not have debt. And so I really started building cash up and cash reserves. And then when I was ready, I started to have enough money to start making wine
Yeah,
and
'cause
roll from there.
Yeah, it's easy if you're consulting. You get paid, well, not on the spot, but
Yeah, you do. You get paid and you've just got a laptop and a car and a bit of
Yeah.
insurance and off you go. So it's a lot easier and clearer. But yeah, making products and selling, there's a lot more cost of sales.
it is. Yeah, it's quite daunting and it's very important. Now, I'm glad we raised that point. Now, obviously, other than numbers, there's a lot of other permutations and nuances in a business to be truly successful. You know, you have to have the right market, the right product, the right price, the marketing strategy, the right processing systems. How do you manage to stay on top of everything?
Yeah, I think on a macro scale, my business has been through so many fluctuations of growth and then retraction. As I grew, I got to the stage where I was starting with $20,000 turnover, and then I grew from there to a point where I was at about $3 million turnover. I just, at some point, I knew that I needed to step out of the winemaking or that interface of being a scientist or being the trade person. And so I stepped out of that. I put people in there as employees and then just managed the business. So that's the way I dealt with that. And then as I retracted back down to a smaller turnover of about where I am now, about 1.2 million, then I could step back into that winemaking role. So I've seen those different ups and downs, and I think for what fits me better is the role I'm playing now as winemaker. And then I use a lot of contractors around me to help me with marketing and socials and graphics and bottling and all the bits and pieces that go around that.
That's right. So what you say is you focus on what you're good at and get people to help you with what they're good at. Like, for instance, if I got to do the podcast on my own, it's going to take me 5 days to do one podcast. So I've got great Jenna here to help me with the stuff. And, you know, and that's building your team as well.
Yeah, and the word there is great. As you've told me about Jenna a few times before, I think I find great people and then often they're with me for 10 to 15 years, because change really sucks the energy out of me. So I like to put a lot of effort into relationships at the start, and then they seem to stick around. I don't like breaking up, so it's hard to do.
It's like an investment,
Yeah, it is.
Thanks for that, Tasha. That's great. So obviously we talked about the profit and your business got to be sustainable. Now, I think you basically covered it with building your team and keeping them motivated and putting a lot of energy into growing your resources. But you're obviously a big fan on sustainable growth as well in business. And doesn't mean if you like turnover on 3 million, you're going down to 1.2, doesn't mean you're not growing, because you're looking at from a different point of view.
I would say it's balance for me, so which is similar to what you're saying, but I think if I look back at the points in my life where I was most content on a holistic scale, that's when my life is in balance between, family, kids, friends, myself. So that comes back to the business as well, and when that business is in balance with the rest of my life, then that's sort of the way I've tried to work it, and that's made it sustainable. So at the moment, it's providing the needs that I need and want, and I just have to keep referring back to that and making sure that it's in balance, and then it will remain to be sustainable, but as my life changes. So, yeah.
Balance. Balance is a beautiful word, actually. It's not just the boring old balance sheet in finance. Your life's got to be in balance.
Yeah, it's probably a female way of looking at it, but for me, it's important for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it helps you. Yeah, another thing that I might touch on here is that you've also started yoga teachings recently.
Yeah.
That must help tremendously with running a business as well, because, yoga helps you getting in touch with that mindfulness and clarity that you sometimes need.
Yeah, it's helped myself and my business, I suppose, on a lot of different levels. So yoga for me has helped me look at a different side or reach a different side of myself and just of life in general, because it offers more softness. From a business mindset, it teaches you to take a step back before you talk, teaches you maybe to take a breath before you talk, and it teaches you to not be scared to just cut out the bullshit and trust your own intuition. And that's been a big one, just trusting your own intuition.
Yeah, and there's a lot of blokes coming in for yoga these days, isn't it?
There are a lot of blokes coming in for yoga. Yeah, blokes need to chill out just as much as girls do. So
good.
they need to get on the mat.
Good to hear, yeah. There's somebody I know. He's doing yoga, but for blokes, they calls it broga or something. But anyway, that's interesting.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
but I thought that if I came on your podcast, you were going to come to one of my yoga lessons.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
Definitely. I'm looking forward to that. Well, business was hard for you, but it wasn't always just hard work. You got to see the world a bit. You've been to South America, Portugal and Europe, and to my hometown in South Africa as well. Do you like traveling around in business?
Yeah, I've been so fortunate to consult in so many different countries, and that's been a gem. It's just been amazing to be able to fly around and be paid for that, for your own skills. I think South Africa was interesting because I think I was probably 31 then, 32, and going over there as a female Australian 32-year-old trying to teach African guys how to make wine. It was a bit challenging.
As long as you don't try to teach them how to play rugby, then it's all right.
I don't think you can teach them anything. But as I started to talk and tell them how their Sauvignon Blanc could be better, their eyes did start to glaze over. So that was only a few trips, but it was the most hospitable place that I've ever been. Yeah, really going in there as a worker was great.
Oh, great. Yeah. And obviously, I mean, we're digressing a little bit, but you also recently went back a bit more north and you saw a bit of wildlife there as well.
Yeah, and then we went to Kruger and took a class of vet students over there with my partner, and it's just unbelievable, as it should be on everyone's bucket list.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Beautiful country.
And I think perhaps one of the reasons that I did mention is to express the fact that business could be fun. You can sort of like blend some stuff. And the whole idea about what I see business is we want to be in business, but you also want to work on your business and to get yourself a bigger life in your business by doing the hard work. Sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves or you got to get your juices flowing, and you will have time left for a bit of fun. And if you're in a situation you can mix your traveling with a little bit of business, it'd be fantastic. So what would your advice be for entrepreneurs out there who wants to go into the wine business today?
Yeah, I think the wine industry is tough, as all business is at the moment, but you shouldn't shy away from that. You shouldn't be scared about that if that's what you want to do. But the biggest thing is to really understand your own personality. And I think I've been brought up to do this by my parents, so I got a keen sense of that when I was younger, and the more I look back on that, the more important I think it is. But yeah, to understand your own personality and what does make you happy in day to day, week to week, year to year. And for me, that's variation, is not being in an office. It's being able to do something different each day, and then having that flexibility to travel or to take your kids to school at that time of my life. So if flexibility is important, then structure what you want to do with your business around that. So just have a keen idea and a keen sense of your own personality, and the business can work for you as much as you work for the business, and that's what you need to understand, to make it sustainable.
I love that, what you said. It's actually the first time I heard it. The business can work for you as much as you work for the business. Yeah.
If you want it to be sustainable.
That's great. I think that'll be our takeaway for today.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, I wish you got more time. You know, you're a judge as well. You really focus onto that clean palate of wine that you're tasting. So we'll leave that for another time. And people really, if you want to taste some of your wines, you don't have a cellar door as such anymore.
No, I don't have a cellar door.
But you can go to in Tananda, and it's a shout out to a little restaurant I like very much, is Vino Local as well. In Tananda, your wines are there.
Yeah.
And I always try the Thief there. So that's one place you can try it in the Barossa at Vino Local. And there's obviously a few other restaurants as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of restaurants, but just independent retailers, stashing Tash. So the Parade Cellars is a great one, and also Unley's Sip and Save. But there's a lot around Adelaide, and Dan Murphy's also stock both the Thief and the Bees. So yeah, quite easy to find.
Yeah. Or if we've got any rugby enthusiasts out there, and come and follow one of the games at the Barossa Rams Club in Tanunda, and Tash is sponsoring the club as well. So
Yeah, do yourself a
yeah, and
favour.
she might even be behind the bar
That's
serving you.
right.
Well, you served me a stout last weekend, so. But that was great. Anyway, Tash, it was fantastic to get you on the show, and great for you to come in and inspire our listeners out there with what you've been doing. Thanks, Tash. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. If there's a little bit of inspiration I've given someone,
Oh,
then I'd be a happy woman.
Well, that's a wrap for today, and we will be back next week for another episode. All right, cheers, bye. Well, thanks for listening to the show. I really hope you got some great takeaways from it. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to the show. It would be great if you can share it. You can also look me up on socials. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And you can also get in touch with me on my website, which is www.yournumberman.com.au, and you can get in touch with me as well. I'll definitely get back to you. See you next time. Cheers.